Hey, everybody, welcome to another Sit Down with Ted. I'm Ted Davis, the voice of Schreiner University, and it's a pleasure to be joined today by Keith Miller. He is Vice President of Influxer. This is a company that is working with colleges and athletes on NIL deals. And of course, as we know, NIL is all the rage in Division I and higher. And now you're talking about this at Division III. Now you're going to have a meeting with the athletes here at Schreiner University. What do you tell them?
Ted, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here at Schreiner. This is an absolutely stunning campus, and the student athletes I've met already today in a couple classes, they're all asking the same question: what's the presentation like tonight? And NIL can be used in a variety of different ways. And the way we use it is it's a vehicle to provide education, development for the student athletes. So working with the athletic staff here, we're selling merchandise on behalf of the student athletes with their name and their number, and we're using their likeness to promote the merchandise. They, of course, receive part of the profit from that. The university is receiving some of the profit from that, but the speech tonight is about taxes, making sure they follow FTC guidelines, all that kind of fun stuff in life, being an adult. But we're teaching them, about the finances and, how to read this kind of stuff and how to read contracts and understand those types of things. So we're utilizing this experience with NIL to provide some lifelong lessons.
At Division I, it seems to be kind of the wild, wild west right now with NIL. So I've been a little skeptical about introducing this into Division III because that really is the last student-athlete platform or format. But I've talked to some coaches here, and my mind is open to being changed. And part of it is to protect the kid because
Sure.
If they don't know that they've got to pay taxes or if they've got an agent representing them, he may take more out than he should. And there are some life lessons to be learned. So what applies to that?
Yeah, and so Influxer, just quick little tidbit, we've been doing this for about 4 years. I was a compliance officer on campuses for close to 25 years. So I love working with student athletes and trying to develop them, giving them those life lessons. We have about 600 universities right now across the country that we're partnered with, that we're doing this with. And that spans the globe from junior colleges to Division II, Division III, a lot of Division I. That seems to be where a lot of the interest is these days. But we do have a little more than 120 Division III schools right now that we're working with. And I think there are a variety of different concerns that do come up when you mention that word NIL. It is a triggering word for some folks. I think we're on the conservative side, we're a very safe bet. They're only getting paid what they actually sell. There's no pay-for-play scenario. And generally speaking, you don't need an agent to work out this kind of stuff. It's a pretty straightforward deal. But you're correct. There are some issues out there. The term street agents is definitely thrown out there in a lot of articles these days. And, this idea of agents, are they certified? Are they registered? And, there's not a lot of overall continuity across the country when it comes to this. So that can be scary, for sure.
The bottom line is that NIL is here to stay, isn't it?
Oh, it's not going away. That cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
It's like, and you're a basketball guy. It's MJ. Can't stop it. We can only learn how to contain it. Or boy, and if MJ's out there and I said that wrong, I'm so sorry. I do not want to mince words with that man.
But NIL, do the players go out and get the deals themselves and then you get involved, or do you help them get the deals?
We don't really help with getting them deals with companies. Now, we generally just stick to the merchandising aspect to this. So we're going to do a lot of merchandising. We're going to help the student athletes learn how to navigate some of the contracts, how to learn how to navigate some of the finances of that. Now, there will be some incidental things that happen. Let's say, for example, we promote a particular student athlete. They do an amazing job on social media, hyping up the post or promoting themselves. They demonstrate good energy, passion, enthusiasm. Inevitably, there's going to be some small company or the big company from back home or that's got some sort of weird connection to the athlete, and they're like, I want them talking about my business that way. And so we'll get contacted from that company. Hey, how can we work with that student athlete? Now, we're not an agent. We're not a marketing agency on behalf of the student athlete, but we'll happily connect that student athlete and work with the student athlete to make sure they're in a safe spot. And I think working with a school like Schreiner, they were very diligent in asking those types of questions, wanting to protect the student athletes, which is absolutely a great thing. I love those types of questions. What if this? How would you guys react? What if this? How would you react? And that's one of the benefits of having a athletic administration that is looking out for the student athletes' welfare and their well-being and looking out for their development.
So is this a way to keep the university sort of out of the process of making the deals?
Yes, this definitely does keep the university out of the process. As I tell a lot of administrators, the heavy lift on this part is really on our part. The lift is not on the university part. We take them out of a lot of tricky scenarios, and I can be a little more straightforward with my advice to some of the student athletes that should they reach out and ask, which I anticipate will be pretty great here because that is pretty normal.
Keith Miller is with us, Vice President of Influxer. Tell me a little bit about your company and how did it get started?
Sure. Influxer, we started off on a little bit of a pipe dream. So I try to keep in touch with my former student athletes, check in on them. How's life? How's everything going? And about 4.5 years ago, I was doing one of those. I pick out one former student athlete a day that I reach out to on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. About 4.5 years ago, one of my former football players, I was doing one of those check-ins. And he had done well in the business world, had some great success, and did one of those touch base calls. And NIL had just become legal. Mm-hmm. And he says, I got this idea. Want to do consulting and education, and we started talking, and the talks became more frequent, and pretty soon Influxer launched, and we stumbled into the merchandising bit. We were pressed by one of the schools to really engage in the merchandising to help them out because there were significant issues with student athletes getting scammed in this industry. They would sign up with companies maybe not even from the United States or something like that. And the student athletes and their parents would pay a lot of money for materials. They were promised a certain return. The products were never delivered. Profits were never shared. So we really stepped into this. Yeah. And we thought, how could we provide a safe spot for the universities and the student athletes?
Yeah, the internet's a landmine, isn't it, out there?
Oh, my goodness. Yes, it is. And just hearing some of those stories, and it still happens today, and that is one of the battles I face, especially working with some smaller athletic departments that say, hey, we're really not interested in NIL. I understand it, I do, I get the mentality, but I think you also have to understand this current breed of student athletes that's out there. They're going to do something,
and they're on social media.
Yes.
And that's a big part of it because that's where the influencing comes from.
Yes. So if you don't provide them a safe space, you don't know what they're doing, and that's problematic.
Is there an example of a Division III guy who's got a deal that you could talk about that, not name, but just...
Yeah. No, there's definitely some Division III examples I can give you. And, yeah, I do. I don't like to go into specific names, but I can tell you, like, one of our most profitable student athletes across the country, Division I, II, III, Power 4, one of our most profitable student athletes was a Division III women's track and field student athlete. Just did an amazing job on social media. You think about the obstacles, the public perception right now with student athletes. I think sometimes the public, they see NIL and they think of student athletes with their hand out saying, gimme, 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 or I'm going to transfer.
Every year.
Yes.
And maybe not even going to class.
So that's one of the obstacles that's out there. So I think there are some really great examples. This particular young lady I'm thinking of right now, she did a great job on social media, doing videos of her morning breakfast when she's making her eggs, and she talks about the ingredients and why she puts it in, for taste, for nutrition, and then she's walking to class in the cold when there's snow out there, and then she's at study group at 10 o'clock at night at the library with her study buddies, and she's going to practice, she's going to the rehab room, icing her knee. She's showing the world all the different obstacles that a student athlete actually faces in a day.
And there are a lot of those, because I don't think people realize how many things a student athlete has on their plate. You've got an early, I know for our volleyball coach, you've got a 6 a.m. workout in the morning.
Yes.
Then you go to class. Then you got to go study. You might even have a part-time job, and you got to balance that.
And I think at the Division III level, there are no athletic scholarships.
Right.
And I don't think the public always knows that. And so my experience in this last 4.5 years of NIL, working with Division III student athletes, they're humble, they're hungry, they're not afraid to work at it. Everything they're doing at this level, they're working for, and they work hard. This is not a granted, this is not a given, but they work hard. And I think their genuine personality really shines through on social media when they work at it, and people see that and they're like, wow, this is somebody I want to support. There are some really cool things happening over at Schreiner. Kerrville. Yeah, that's great stuff.
I love the fact that they really are here to get an education. That's the primary focus. But athletics is such a part of their life. And I've worked at the major league level. But I'm telling you, I watch these kids, and they compete as hard as anybody at Division I. I mean, they are out there giving it everything they've got.
Yes, they absolutely are. And I met with a couple classes today, and they were sport management classes, and a lot of student athletes in there. And one of the first things I ask is, how many of you actually have an NIL deal right now? No hands go up.
Right.
How many of you are interested in NIL?
A lot of hands
go up.
Yeah.
Of course. And then I like to ask questions like, how many of you want to go into coaching? How many of you want to be an athletic trainer? How many of you want to go into professional athletics? Various questions. Yeah. And I tell them, look, out of all these things we're talking about today, you're going to need a little bit of knowledge about this NIL world. It's part of the high school level, the junior college level, the collegiate level. It's part of all those worlds. At some point, you're going to get asked a question from one of the athletes you're working with for a little bit of guidance, mentorship, advice on something they're facing. So even if you're not interested in it for yourself, right now is a great opportunity to learn. Because at some point you're going to be counted on for guidance down the road from one of the other athletes you mentor.
So this is actually getting down to the high school level at this
Absolutely.
point, huh? Wow.
Absolutely. So that gets a little more tricky because you got 50 states, and every state's a little bit different with their legislation. And we do have a number of high schools that are starting to work with us. Not in the state of Texas, because the state of Texas, the state laws are a little more conservative than some of the other states, but for example, in the state of Florida, state laws are pretty flexible there, and we're seeing quite a bit of movement there.
If there's a parent watching this that has an athlete at Division III, and they want to explore this, how could they get in touch with you and your company?
www.influxermerch.com. is the best way to get in touch with us.
INFLUXER, right?
Yes. Yeah. And you can check out any of the 600 universities and counting that we're working with. You can take a look at the various products. We're always putting new products out there. Well, the one I'm really excited about is clear plastic bags. The stadium bags for the student athletes.
Yeah.
You've got the university logo on one side, student athlete's name and number on the other side, and they meet all the stadium clear restrictions, which that's kind of a cool thing. It's pretty practical and handy. So I get excited about some of the products we're doing.
In all the years you worked with athletes, who was your favorite athlete to work with?
Oh, boy.
You have like one or two? You mentioned Dwayne Wade at Marquette. You were at Marquette for a while.
I did. So I worked at Marquette for a while. I worked at the University of Southern California for 5 years during the Pete Carroll days.
Okay.
So
those were good years.
There was definitely some good years. There were some good times, and there were some not so good times.
Yeah, Vince Young had a not so good time.
That's one I don't like to talk about too much. I was on the opposing. That was my last official day at USC. Was that game? Yes, and I ended up marrying a Longhorn. So
Well, hook 'em.
which makes life that much more interesting with decorations around the house. But boy, there are so many athletes. Matt Castle always comes to mind.
Okay.
He was a backup quarterback for us at USC. Ends up getting drafted.
Had a decent career.
He had a, you really look at this guy, for one, absolutely great human being.
Yeah.
Just absolutely great human being. If I ever needed a volunteer, for some sort of educational program, he was always the first to volunteer. The guy's a backup football player, happens to be walking by the baseball stadium, says, you know what, I want to go out and wing it. He goes out there and just starts throwing high 90s. No warm-up, nothing.
Yeah.
And baseball team just gladly takes him on. He'll get a few innings, and he did great. But he ended up backing up Carson Palmer, Heisman Trophy winner, Matt Leinart, Heisman Trophy winner, goes to New England, backs up Flutie and Brady, and
You can make a great living as a backup quarterback, and you never get hit, and you don't have any injuries, your body doesn't hurt, and you got a big bank account.
just a phenomenal, great guy too. Just you love seeing the good stories about like good people, really find success, and
Yeah.
he really did a good job for himself.
So you married a Texan, huh?
I am not a Texan.
I know, but why aren't you? You should come to Texas.
I live in Georgetown now.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So I do live I've lived in Texas for 20 years, but as my native Texan wife tells me, I will never be a true Texan.
Yeah, we're kind of obnoxious about that. I'm sorry.
Even though I've got
On behalf of all of Texans, I'm sorry.
I've got several state fishing records within the state of
Really?
Texas.
What's the biggest one you ever caught?
Oh my goodness. Boy,
Bass?
bass. I've done a lot of fishing down through time. So saltwater, freshwater bass, catfish. We were talking Wisconsin a little bit
Yeah.
earlier. So muskie, northern pike, walleye, salmon even up there, which
Yeah.
is just great. But I always separate my greatest catches by what type of gear I was using.
Oh.
I'm one of those people, and I
Okay.
get really nerdy about it.
So you've been here 20 years, though.
Yes.
Okay, you're in.
Do I get a temporary Texan pass?
You're in the Texas club. Yeah,
Okay.
20 years is, that, you got to start dropping your G's, though.
Okay.
I'm
I need this
talking.
recording for my wife.
Yeah, we're sitting down with Ted. Keith Miller, thanks, Vice President of Influxer. Good luck on your work at Division III, and I like your business model to take care of the kids and take care of the university.
Thank you.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Keith Miller has been our guest. I'm Ted Davis. See you next time on Sit Down here at Schreiner University.